1. The worst cook in America. Billy had always been the chef of his friends, although he couldn't boil water without causing a small fire. One day he decided to host a dinner party. He invited everyone over for what he promised would be a gourmet experience. The menu? Spaghetti, lasagna, and a special soup. The spaghetti turned into a gluey mess. The lasagna resembled a brick, and the soup, well, it was more like an accidental science experiment with floating rubber chunks. His guests couldn't help but laugh as they pretended to choke down the delicacies, all while Billy beamed with pride. "This is the taste of five-star dining," he declared. The group agreed, in their best polite voices, that they'd rather starve. The talking dog. A man walked into a bar with his dog, and the bartender, trying to make conversation, said, "What's so special about that dog?" The man replied, "This dog can talk." The bartender was skeptical but humored him. He said, "All right, let's hear it. What's your dog's name?" The dog turned to the bartender and said, "I'm Rufus. I'm here to drink the finest beer and talk about politics, but this place doesn't serve either." The bartender was stunned. He asked the man, "How much do you want for the dog?" The man said, "I'll sell him to you for $100. The bartender stared at him in disbelief. "You're telling me that dog can talk, and you're selling him for $100? The man replied, "Yep, but I'm not sure if he's worth it. He thinks politics is a joke." The elevator pitch. At a job interview, Tom was asked, "What's your elevator pitch?" Tom, a man of few words, paused. He then replied, "I'm like an elevator. I go up and down, but it's always a ride worth taking." The interviewer was stunned, unsure whether to laugh or question Tom's sanity. Tom, sensing the awkwardness, added, "But I promise I'm not stuck between floors." 4. A misunderstanding at the dentist. Bob sat in the dentist's chair, nervously gripping the armrests. His dentist, Dr. Williams, asked, "Are you ready for the procedure?" Bob, trying to calm himself, responded, "Yeah, just give me a little nitrous oxide to ease the tension." Dr. Williams raised an eyebrow. "You mean you want me to give you laughing gas?" Bob smiled nervously. "No, I'm not sure how much you can laugh at my situation, but you're a professional, right, Doctor?" Williams stared at Bob for a moment before bursting into laughter. "You have no idea what you're talking about, do you?" Bob, equally confused, asked, "Wait, you weren't going to make jokes, Doctor?" Williams chuckled. "You might need more gas than I thought." 5. The prankster cat. Samantha had a cat named Whiskers, who was notorious for playing pranks. One evening, she decided to prank her roommate Jenna by making it look like the cat had been locked in the pantry. Samantha set up the scene. She locked the pantry door, made a mess, and left a trail of cat treats to the pantry. When Jenna opened it, she was greeted by an empty shelf. As Jenna turned around, Whiskers appeared out of nowhere, jumped onto her back, and gave her the most dramatic look. Samantha burst out laughing. Guess who's the prankster now? 6. The sneeze that changed everything. Tom was in a business meeting, nervously presenting his new idea to the board of directors. As he reached the most important part of his presentation, he felt a sneeze coming on. Trying to hold it in, Tom stammered, "And if we can just leverage..." Achoo! The force of the sneeze shot his pen across the table, knocking over the coffee mug, which then splashed all over the director's suit. Dead silence. Then one director, who had been looking stern up until that point, broke into laughter. "Well, I guess that's one way to make an impact." 7. The invisible unicorn. Chad was at a bar when a man stumbled in, looking like he'd had one too many drinks. He slurred, "I've just seen an invisible unicorn in the street. Can you believe it?" The bartender raised an eyebrow and said, "Invisible unicorn? I think you've had enough to drink." The man replied, No, it's real. I even pet it." The bartender leaned over the counter. "What did it feel like?" The man thought for a moment before answering. "Soft, like a cloud. But it didn't like me, so it disappeared." Chad, overhearing, whispered to the bartender, "Maybe you should try petting it next time. It seems to like you better." 8. Grandma's new tech. Linda's grandmother had just gotten a new smartphone, and she was struggling to figure out how to use it. Linda decided to help. She showed Grandma how to use the camera, and Grandma was amazed. "So it just takes pictures of me whenever I want?" Linda explained. "Yes, Grandma, just press the button, and it captures the moment." Grandma smiled. A few minutes later, she called Linda. "I think I broke it. There are pictures of my ceiling all over the phone." Linda giggled. "Grandma, you were holding the phone upside down." Grandma sighed. Well, I thought the ceiling looked great today. Who knew I was such a photographer? 9. The DIY disaster. Mike decided it was finally time to do some home improvement. His wife, Lisa, had been urging him to fix the leaky faucet for months. Determined, Mike went to the hardware store and bought all the tools necessary for the job. After hours of struggling, swearing, and watching YouTube tutorials, Mike proudly turned the faucet on, expecting a steady flow of water. Instead, the faucet exploded, spraying Mike with water and knocking him into the laundry basket. Lisa walked in just in time to see Mike, dripping wet, hanging from the ceiling light. Lisa raised an eyebrow. Well, at least you tried. Mike, still holding on to the light, grinned sheepishly. At least I didn't call a plumber. 10. The talking pizza. Tom, an aspiring comedian, was working his day job at a pizza parlor when a regular customer asked for a surprise pizza. And the manager, trying to be clever, said, "How about we make this pizza talk?" Tom, always up for a challenge, grabbed the microphone behind the counter and recorded a message saying, "Hey, I'm the pizza. Want to meet my cheesy cousin?" When the customer opened the box, he looked at Tom in disbelief. "What kind of pizza is this?" Tom couldn't help but laugh. "The kind that cracks jokes,"